available through regional stockpiles and illicit trade. And Western rifles, such as the M1604 and M4 carbine, were captured from Iraqi army depots and bases and tended to be issued to more elite or specialized units because they required better maintenance and a stable ammunition supply, making them less practical for widespread use. As the compact AKS-74U became favored by vehicle crews, drivers and commanders for its short barrel and maneuverability in confined spaces, while heavier battle rifles like the FN-FAL and G3 appeared in limited numbers and were valued for long-range fire and their ability to penetrate cover in urban combat, giving them a niche role despite their weight and recoil, and rarer rifles such as the VZ-58 and French Farmers were seen only occasionally and were often retained more for symbolic propaganda or status purposes than for practical battlefield effectiveness due to their distinctive appearance. Sniper and precision rifles served a strategic function aimed at slowing enemy advances, controlling key terrain, and exerting psychological pressure in urban environments, with the Dragunov SVD functioning as the standard designated marksman rifle thanks to its semi-automatic fire and effective range. While the PSL and Iraqi Tabuk rifles provided more affordable and locally available alternatives that were widely used for overwatch and harassment fire, rather than true long-range precision sniping and heavy 50 caliber rifles such as the AM-50 and HS-50, though limited in number, were employed against vehicles, checkpoints, and fortified positions, and carried strong symbolic value as representations of overwhelming firepower, whereas the continued AS-E of the Mosin Nagant, a bolt-action rifle dating back to World War II, demonstrated how obsolete weapons often remain in circulation and are repurposed for secondary roles in prolonged conflicts. Machine guns were critical to ISIS operations at both tactical and psychological levels, as suppression and area denial were essential for offensive assaults and defensive holds, making the PKM the most valuable squad-level weapon due to its balance of firepower, portability, and widely available ammunition, while the RPK, a heavy barrel variant of the AK platform, provided infantry support within rifle squads and captured Western light machine guns such as the M249, SAW appeared only in limited use because maintaining a consistent ammunition supply proved difficult, as the MG3, a modern descendant of the German MG42, delivered an extremely high rate of fire that generated fear and psychological shock, but also consumed ammunition rapidly and demanded frequent maintenance, while heavy machine guns like the DSHK, KPV, and NSV were commonly mounted on pickup trucks to create highly mobile technical vehicles that formed a central element of ISIS's maneuver-based warfare, enabling rapid concentration of firepower and swift relocation across open terrain. Taken together, this diverse weapons ecosystem illustrates that ISIS's military capability was not the result of advanced manufacturing or a centralized logistics system, but rather the byproduct of collapsing state institutions, looted arsenals, illicit arms markets, and decades-old stockpiles, with each weapon chosen and used according to availability, symbolic value, and psychological impact. A diversity that offered flexibility and short-term advantages while simultaneously creating long-term challenges in training, logistics, maintenance, and standardization across the force. When small arms proved insufficient for achieving battlefield objectives or creating the level of shock and disruption that ISIS sought, the group increasingly relied on a combination of heavy weapons, guided anti-armor systems, indirect fire assets, and improvised terror weapons that together shaped its approach to asymmetric warfare, allowing it to challenge better-equipped opponents, while compensating for weaknesses in air power, logistics, and conventional military structure. Anti-tank weapons played a central role in this effort, as they were essential for countering armored vehicles, fortified positions, and defensive lines established by Iraqi, Syrian, and coalition-backed forces, with the RPG-7 standing out as the most common and widely used anti-tank weapon due to its simplicity, durability, and massive availability across the Middle East, often being locally modified with different warheads, extended grips, or improvised sights to suit specific combat conditions. While the more advanced RPG-29 provided a significant upgrade in capability, as its tandem charge warhead was capable of penetrating modern armor and defeating reactive protection systems, making it particularly feared when used in ambushes against main battle tanks. And recoilless systems such as the SPG-9 and OSA filled an important niche by offering longer-range direct fire against vehicles and fortified targets, allowing ISIS units to engage from standoff distances in rural or semi-urban environments, especially along highways and open terrain, where ambush tactics were common. Beyond unguided launchers, the use of guided anti-tank missiles represented one of the most serious threats posed by ISIS heavy weapons, as systems like the American-made TOW, Russian Kornet, and Chinese HJ-8, often captured from Syrian stockpiles or seized from opposition forces, enabled fighters to destroy armored vehicles from long distances with high accuracy, frequently using elevated firing positions or concealed launch sites to maximize effectiveness and minimize exposure, while disposable launchers, such as the AT-4 and M72 Law, were valued for close-range urban combat, where their lightweight design and ease of use allowed individual fighters to engage vehicles or breach defensive positions in confined streets and dense neighborhoods. Alongside these anti-armor capabilities, improvised and terror weapons became defining elements of ISIS's operational identity, as the group deliberately emphasized shock, spectacle, and psychological impact to compensate for material inferiority and to destabilize enemy morale. With crude but powerful systems like the Hellcat's tactical options, by allowing fighters to attack enemies behind cover, inside buildings, or within defensive compounds without direct line of sight. With systems like the M79 Thumper and the GP-25 underbarrel grenade launcher, enabling individual fighters to lob explosive rounds into trenches, windows, or alleyways, while the AGS-17 automatic grenade launcher provided area suppression over wider zones, saturating enemy positions with fragmentation and forcing movement or withdrawal, particularly during defensive engagements or while covering retreats. Heavy support weapons and armored vehicles, though limited in number and often constrained by fuel, maintenance, and spare parts, nonetheless contributed to ISIS's ability to project power and challenge conventional forces, as the Zu-23-2 anti-aircraft gun, originally designed for air defense, was frequently repurposed for ground combat due to its high rate of fire and devastating effect against infantry and light vehicles, often being mounted on trucks or placed at key defensive positions to dominate open approaches. While shoulder-fired air defense systems like the Strela-2 manpads, even when used infrequently, imposed significant constraints on enemy air operations by forcing helicopters and low-flying aircraft to operate at higher altitudes or avoid certain areas altogether, reducing their effectiveness in close air support and reconnaissance roles. And captured armored vehicles such as the T-55 tank, though obsolete by modern standards, were adapted as mobile bunkers, direct fire support platforms, or even converted into massive suicide vehicles, filled with explosives to breach fortified lines, while the more capable T-72 tanks represented the most formidable conventional armor available to ISIS, offering substantial firepower and protection when operational. But their effectiveness was often limited by shortages of trained crews, maintenance challenges, and inconsistent access to fuel and ammunition. Taken as a whole, this heavy and improvised weapons portfolio illustrates how ISIS pursued a strategy built around maximizing psychological impact, exploiting captured or improvised technology, and leveraging asymmetric tactics to offset its disadvantages against better-equipped state and coalition forces, demonstrating that its military effectiveness did not stem from technological sophistication or industrial capacity, but from adaptability, opportunism, and a willingness to blur the line between conventional warfare and terror, creating a form of conflict in which fear, spectacle, and unpredictability were as important as firepower itself.